Hey everybody, this is Scott from Lawrence Hypnotherapy, and thank you so much for watching this video called How to Coach $250,000 Online, even if your computer is 15 years old and you're tired. So if you're a hypnotherapist, you're into NLP, or you're a coach, or whatever it is that you do, like you could be Reiki, and it's something like where you're in the how-to space, and you're helping people to either improve their business or to improve their lives. If it's their business, perhaps like you're teaching finance or Bitcoin or currency or something of the sort, or sales or business in any way, your confidence, public speaking, whatever it is that you might be helping, or if it's their lives, maybe it's their health, maybe it's addiction, maybe it's weight, maybe it's personal happiness, maybe it's mental health, anxiety, depression, insomnia, or perhaps even relationships and talking to them about little changes, awarenesses that they can have, things they didn't know. Because it's really good not to just sort of assume that everybody knows as much as what you've studied, because you've studied so much. And other people, they may not be where you're at in your topic. They might be miles ahead in other topics, and that's fine. But that's what they need you for. They need you because they've got a problem that they're not an expert in, because they've been busy studying their stuff, becoming an expert in other areas of their life, and they're stuck. And your job could be to treat them, to teach them, or to inspire them to be able to basically access a better life through just small practical tools. And that's what I want to talk about in this. So if you have a goal to do, it could be just 6 figures. It might even just be 50,000 per year. Might be 35,000 per year, like whatever it is that is yours. I want to unpack that in this video and give you some practical tools and stories as to things that you can do. What's available for you that you can do to improve your business. So taking a look at my virtual desk and what this looks like, to me, this is just a really good storytelling device. I'm using Prezi, which is the platform in which I basically, besides Google Slides, which is another one, I use Prezi to make presentations like this because it's really good for helping you to think through what it is that you're going to say. But let's just take a look at the picture of the iPad. So things aren't exactly as they seem. Details matter a lot. There's things in your business that will produce growth, and there's things in your business that will enable growth. And it might sort of sound first sort of like a fluffy concept, but I want to give you some practical stuff as to what's happened with me and how I've basically been able to unlock some bottlenecks. So things that create growth in your business, it might be things like doing leads, sales, booking people in. It might be things like hiring a sales team, scaling, all of that kind of thing. So there's things that actions that you take that will actually make that happen. Things that enable growth, though, is a side that a lot of people don't look at. And so for me, because I had an email not that long ago from a client who wasn't happy that I hadn't dusted my office in a while. Prestige is one of those things that will enable growth, because as much as you can be putting those ads out there, it's those other hidden areas as well that really kind of open up your ability to be free. So scaling to $1 million may not be, or to $250,000, may or may not be what your target is. But in order to get full enjoyment out of your life and out of your business, the things that enable personal growth or enable business growth are just as important as those things that create the growth. They go hand in hand. It's like breathing in and breathing out. You need both. So as kind of a bit of an example, let's say an optical illusion where it says these two circles have exactly the same size. And things aren't exactly what they're seeing, because here's the pictures side by side showing that they're really not the same size. And also they're not exactly circles. But there's some things that we get in our head sometimes that sort of make us think that growth's not possible. Sometimes we have imposter syndrome. Sometimes we have things, or perhaps your client might just not believe in themselves. If they're not taking action, screaming and coaching them sort of that way, especially in the hypnotherapy industry, it gets nobody anywhere. It's an industry of people that basically, they're not in it to be screamed at. They're in it to be empowered. And it's not just the hypnotherapy industry. It's pretty much everybody now, that they don't want to have that drill sergeant yelling at them saying are you serious or not? Come on, let's do this thing. And I want to talk to you through some practical methods about how you can scale up without ever having to kind of like force or push. If you unpack this stuff, you won't believe what's possible. So let's get into it. So there's a bit of a story that I like to talk about. So the details really matter a lot, especially when it comes to enabling growth. So what I mean, let's say that recently, like I found that there was a lot of pressure on me, like when I was seeing so many clients face to face, and the Zoom call seemed like a really good idea. It was really great to hop on a Zoom and deliver these meetings. But to do it, I needed to seek help. I just love that picture of the soap. It says "seek help," but okay, it's funny. So I needed to find out how to do this. And what I found is what I thought is you just get a Zoom account and kind of do it. That's not exactly the case. That's not exactly how it works. So just call me the little engine that said, okay, but I need some coffee first. I sought help and I got a plan and it was running really, really smoothly. What's kind of interesting about this is that the stuff that enables growth, when I just thought that all I needed was a Zoom account, what I found was when I get people in for a hypnotherapy session, there are several steps that I do that help to create that prestige to make the therapy sessions appear more professional. One is, of course, like cleaning and dusting my office. But when it came to the Zoom calls, I was treating it somewhat casually. I didn't have the full picture. I wasn't sending out an email to people to remind them that the next one's coming. I wasn't sending them that text reminder that I absolutely would do if it was a hypnotherapy session. I wasn't sending them the questionnaires and things like that all of those little bits and pieces that I absolutely do in the hypnotherapy session. I wasn't doing that in my coaching. And so what it can feel like is that at some point when people drop out and then you find that you've done this effort, you've created something really great, but it was only temporary, it can really make you feel a little bit weird. It can make you feel like a failure. It can make you feel a lot of things. And it can make you basically make up stories in your head about how you see the world. It's the same as that when you've been hurt, it's like if you heard that saying, once bitten, twice shy. So then, getting to that point of feeling that sometimes you just have to sit back, grab a beer and face the facts that everybody sucks except for your cat. But it's not really the case that there is so much opportunity in the world, and a lot of people tend to have this belief that they can only grow so far. They still need more, but they feel that if I take on more clients, it's going to take more time. This isn't true, not if you use the one-to-many model. Or people might say, I can't do that yet because I don't know how to manage that many people. Well, you know how to manage one. It doesn't double unless you're seeing them face-to-face, one-on-one, or even if it's online, one-on-one, one after another, because then 40 clients then can take 40 hours. But once you get the hang of these little professional little bits and pieces that make a huge difference, how to manage a group, how to treat it more like a classroom, how to add value to more people, then you can get so much more freedom in your life. So let me tell you a story, because everything's really about human psychology in one way or another. And so with this human psychology, if you can let me tell you a story. So let's forget about kind of everything that we've been taught as a kid for a little while. Think about that. Let's say that you want to get this group of people to do one-to-many, and you need to be able to enable that growth. You need to know what are those things about you that will cause it to be easy, that'll make it evergreen, that'll mean that it's not as if you can just achieve this phenomenal thing once. You can keep achieving it over and over in a way that's not going to exhaust you. This is what I had to figure out. So I had these people kind of following, and then I had to work out okay, what's missing? What was missing from my plan? And so if you came across a magic book that whatever you write in it will turn into reality, what's the first thing that you would write? Before we talk into what's going to enable your growth, let's find out first, what do you want? Is it 1 client a week, 5 clients a week, 20? And Is it only because that's what's been shown to be possible to you? Or do you worry that people won't pay you a high enough price? Or do you worry that you can't see people in a group? Or do you worry that you can't get people a result if they're in a group? So it's not just about like writing down what you think is possible. First, write down what you want so that we can find out what you want. How much do you need to earn per week? But to do that, are you willing to do the things that enable growth? So this is kind of like some blockages that we see in people is that, let's say that they've got a fear of technology or a lack of sales structure, or that they're kind of like pushy, if that makes sense. Are you willing to be coached on those areas to make sure that this opens up for you an opportunity? The same as like how people see money is not available. In this video, I'm going to show you how to get some. If you do these steps, you can absolutely get there, as long as you're not just writing down what you want, but you're also willing to make those changes that enable growth. So let's stop for a second and really consider, what is it that you really want? And what are those shadow areas of yourself that's really not letting that happen? And are those shadow areas really correct, or are they just kind of like in your way? Because during the COVID time, it's kind of like, we're calling it all this stuff that's been going recently. It is a time for self-reflection. So I found that Facebook was a little bit more than just like quizzes like this, that if you got 2 corn plus 2 corn equals 4, 3 corn plus 3 corn equals 6, what's this? Like, I love these puzzles, but it's kind of like, that's just the fun stuff. If we see like what the tool is really capable of, your dream doesn't have an expiration date. Take a deep breath and try again. So if you've fallen off the horse, there are no triggers to get you back up. You've got to be able to do that. You've got to be able to commit to doing it. But notice like that part of you that goes, I was hurt last time. Take note of it, write it down. What stopped you last time? And are you willing to do that differently? Not just the stuff that creates growth, as in put out ads and do sales, but and to automate that, but like, what are those parts of you that really need to change in order to get what you want? And is it worth it? Is it worth it? I would absolutely say so. But the funny thing is, like, when we talk about like the things that create growth and the things that enable growth, instead of showing kind of a diagram, which is the way I was showing this concept, I love this picture because it really points out what's really happening. It's kind of like if you're just doing the things that create growth, like doing lead sales, videos, whatever it is, it's like this swing. You, as far forward as you can move, you got this brick wall coming to smash you in the back with the backwards momentum when it's time to rest. So if you don't change those things that enable growth, that let you swing back the other way and really win the home game, then the away game, the home game and the away game, or like you're get it done, then let it go. This is what it's going to feel like. It's going to hurt every time that you've achieved something. You're still going to want to achieve something because let's say there's this song buzzing in your head. It just keeps going. It says, I want this, I want this, I want this. But also, wanting it is hard because like when I ever do something about it, I get hurt. I want it, but I get hurt when I pursue it. So what do? You go after it for a bit and then you reject it. You go after it for a bit, you become sort of like maybe a bit of a hermit for a while and you go like, well, what if I just take a break? But there's some things that you're supposed to be doing in the break that are actually progress. That's why this is such a brilliant time to do it. So that what I found is like, I had a bit of a headache with some of the problems that I had, like with this exact same scenario, because apparently that this whole kind of like one-to-many thing using my computer was way too complicated. And so programs like Facebook or Zoom or Prezi was enough to blow up my computer. My computer was 8 years old. I said 15 because some people have really, really old computers, like maybe like your computer's from 2005. And it's just really not doing those things you need it to do. So what I found is like, especially, for people that are in this situation, and there's like then a money issue, is like how can they afford a new computer? Like there's this catch-22 that keeps going on that people get stuck in. It's like, raise your hand if you're just tired of everything. It's tough like to be told like, okay, just go buy a new computer, buy a coach, buy this, and everything will be okay. And what you really need to focus on more than just one side or the other is the two sides and the relationship. what's going to create growth and what's going to enable it. So what I found is like my phone did almost everything for me, almost everything. So I've got a brand new computer coming soon because my computer's still like 8 years old because it was like secondhand when I got it. Maybe it's like 10 years old. I got a brand new phone and found that it pretty much like does everything for me, which is really cool. Like I'm actually recording this on a phone. And so like you might be saying things like, hey Scott, like, well, here's a picture of the Earth before and after your opinion. See, it hasn't changed. You'd be like, if you're telling me that I can pretty much like do everything on my phone, well, yeah, well, there you go. Goodbye. But just let me show you something, because this is like when I go on my phone on Facebook, this is an ad that I've been putting out for a while. And like little things on the phone, it just comes up with like suggestions like, do you want to boost this post? Yeah, I'll boost it. So just while watching TV, I added money to it. I chose like retargeting because like I had a pixel set up. And then I put $200 on it and then I clicked boost post now. So that was $4 a day for 50 days. And then it says your boosted post is scheduled or running. So there's ways that you can kind of edge forward as you're replacing those things in your life that are broken. I had another email like from a client saying that, the chairs at your office kind of they're deteriorated a bit. Like I'm in my office a lot. I don't see these things because I see them every day. It happens so gradually that when a new client comes and they see that something's not enabling growth for me, such as like the presentation of the office, those are those kind of like behind the scenes areas that actually help your entire life to lift. So let's get into the human psychology. If you're going to put out an ad or if you're going to put out something that's really going to capture people's attention, wouldn't it make sense to teach it to them in a way that their brain is inherently wired to learn? Since the dawn of time, we've always been basically attracted to more listening to things that are like campfire stories and not so much like details on a blackboard or dot points or slabs of text. And the process tends to be things what we call topic, story, teach, and then offer. These are the things that people forget to include in their sales copy, in their videos, in anything that they put out. They kind of just write, because to enable growth, you need to make sure that the stuff that you put out looks a particular way, sounds a particular way, flows a particular way. From an ebook that I wrote quite a while ago, here's just some excerpts from it, from an acronym that we call ATSTO, because it's attention, topic, story, teach, offer. So for attention, first you want to make sure that you're loud enough and can be seen. You want to make sure that people are actually seeing the video as well. And so then the topic is where you need to let people know what it is that you actually do. So I'm who, and I help who to achieve what by what method without what method. So let's say if it's for smoking, it's like, hi, I'm Scott from Lawrence Hypnotherapy, and I help smokers to quit smoking in 60 minutes by using the 6 triggers of hypnotherapy program without patches, pills, or gums or sprays. Or if it's the business stuff, I'm Scott from Lawrence Hypnotherapy, and I help coaches, hypnotherapists, NLP masters to earn 6 figures, to produce a 6-figure funnel within 2 weeks by basically building 4 videos and an ebook, creating the funnel without having to be a marketing expert in the first place, without having to be already a professional speaker, with simple formulas that help them to achieve this and to put it out step by step, holding their hands. And then I would say the who, achieve what, and stage. Are you either, let's say, are you a hypnotherapist? Are you an NLP practitioner? Or are you a coach? There's 3 who's. Or like for a smoker, or I might say, are you a smoker of cigarettes, cigars, or marijuana? And then to achieve what? 3 things. To quit smoking, to become healthier, and to become a better role model for the people around you. And the 3 stages could be, are you a heavy, light, or moderate smoker? So now we've got like 9 variables. And it's kind of like the horoscopes. Like when people are listening to a horoscope, they're only actually listening for their own horoscope. They will, let's say because there's these 12 zodiac signs. If people are listening to it on the radio, I think it's been a while since I've heard this on the radio, but basically people will ignore the other 11 and just listen to theirs. So with this, if you can use the 3 who's, the 3 achieve what's, and the 3 stages in a video or in a post that you put out. So it kind of makes sense that it kind of calls out the audience. It says like, hey, this is for you, especially if you lead with the I'm who and I help who to achieve what by what method without what method. And then you tell a story because, and here's like a acronym for story: success, time, territory, title, character, obstacle, realization, and you need. So let's do an example. So success, like I've helped over 4,000 smokers to quit smoking. And then I'll say, like, so that's the success, the time, territory, title, character. Time. The other day, or last week, in my office, a client of mine, so I've done time, territory, title, character, needed to get off cigarettes, but they found they couldn't stop smoking because it's the only break that they got. The realization was that it actually wasn't the only break that they got. The break was the break. It's just that smoking gave them an excuse to go. So then saying that they needed to know that they could still choose to have a break. And you need to know that you also can choose to take the break as well. So that's how you use the story acronym. Then we've got the teach. And the interesting thing about teaching is that people aren't ready to listen to what works until you call out what doesn't work. This is to do with their opinion of your intelligence or experience. So we use a system called first the bad spectrum. So it might be something like you might be just like going really hard on yourself using discipline to get off the cigarettes. And this is a bit of advice that you get. It's like, try harder. And we could say this is great because it's like, taking responsibility, but bad because it doesn't actually work. If anything, it just puts more pressure on yourself and you cut down for a bit and then you end up smoking full time again. The other piece of advice that you get, the other bad, can be something like go gentle on yourself and it'll happen at its own time. The bad about this is that it'll probably never happen. So that you might then be stuck between the two bads, the two myths. One is like go harder, the other is go softer. And if you're stuck between the go hard or soft when it comes to quitting cigarettes, so this is like me talking to the smokers through a video or through my text or whatever it is that I put out. So we could say to them, if you're stuck between these two ends of the spectrum, you might be looking at the wrong thing altogether. Or if I'm talking to somebody for marketing, I could say, are you trying to basically work as hard as you can, pumping out content? This is great, but it's also bad because it just exhausts you and it still might not get you there. Whereas the other bad is like when you say like, well, just relax and just let it happen. Again, you'll probably still never get there. So no matter how hard or soft you go, you might be focusing on the wrong thing altogether if it's about how hard or soft you go. Or like another set of myths could be that you think that, should you charge higher or charge lower? And now you're on the spectrum of going, if I charge higher, maybe I'll get more money, but if I charge lower, maybe I'll get more clients. But with a higher price, people say no. With a lower price, like, it's not worth your time. So again, you could say to people, you're focusing on the wrong thing altogether. And then once you've kind of put them in a state like where you sort of go, I understand where you're coming from, I understand what your struggle is, then you can talk to them about the pillars. So if I'm going to talk to somebody about quit smoking hypnotherapy, I'll say, well, that instead of looking at one thing called quit smoking, we break it into these three parts, these three pillars. The nicotine addiction, which is the relationship between the drug and the body. The second pillar, which is the habit. And the third pillar, which is the emotional battle, which could be like, the need to relax, the need to take breaks, the need to reward yourself. Or if I'm talking to people about marketing and selling that, the pillars I might talk about is that you need to get traffic, trust, and sales. So like these are the three cores. People are doing all these kind of fancy, like they're looking for fancy tools. But what they don't know is that no matter how fancy the tool is, getting traffic and content is always up to you. They're just a framework. So I talk to them about the three core things that you need, which is you need to get traffic, and I'll talk to you in this video about how to get it. You need to build trust and put out content. And in this video, again, we'll show you what to do. And then make the sale. Again, in this video, we're going to show you what to do. But does that kind of make sense? Like this is kind of like what I'd be saying in a video. And so then after the teach, we make an offer. And so the name of the product, it could be free or paid. So it could be like a free ebook or free video, or it could be a paid program. You tell them what they get, you tell them the bonuses, what the standard result is, the price or free, and then type I'm in to get it, or click here to get it, or press the button to get it. You've got to actually ask. If you don't ask, they won't do it. part of what enables growth is like giving yourself permission to ask for the sale. Even if you automate it, even if you write it on your webpage and get other people to build it for you, there needs to be an ask, or else people don't take action. They hear like, oh, you're a hypnotherapist or you're a coach. Great. You've got a program. Cool. And they don't know that you've asked them to join. So that's basically what we do. So during the new normal, oh, look at this. So like the COVID-19 essential shop, it's a weird time in history. So it's a really good time to reflect on what are you putting out? So back to the desktop. So like if we just like break down the numbers, if what you're looking to do is like $250,000 per year, it's $5,000 per week. So it's like $1,000 a day, Monday to Friday, or if you're doing $200 an hour, if you're not doing the one-to-many model, it's like $200 an hour, 25 hours a week. I like to work the 6 days a week, so I do like 4 hours a day, Monday to Friday, then basically 6 hours on a Saturday, and that's how I do it. But I also do other things, like I do coaching and I've got online courses and things that I sell as well, which is really great. So like finding that, like I'm sitting there kind of like from my bed, doing a post, advertising myself, writing something. So not so much doing a video, but kind of like doing something on the computer that doesn't require the camera to my face. And noticing that while I'm social distancing from the customer and the customer's social distancing from me, is that their phone is still listening out for those things that they want. A friend of mine the other day, he asked me like, do you like Crowded House? I'm like, yeah, do you remember when the band was called Split Enz? And so I sent that to him, and then he started getting ads with the word split ends in them for hair. It's freaky. So their accounts are listening to what they want, which is really great, because then the smokers, my ads are showing up in their accounts, which is fantastic. So I know what you could be thinking is that like, I'm not going into another rabbit hole. I'm trying to get out of the rabbit hole. But let me just talk you through a simple, just one more rabbit hole, how to get this done. So if you want to sell $5,000 worth of stuff per week, your program might be $2,500. I've got one that people buy now because they find it online through my funnels and they buy it, and I sell 2 of those per week. But I also do the clinical hypnotherapy. So perhaps that there's something special about you that you're hiding and pretending to be more ordinary. When you do those steps that help to enable growth, you can then really put what it is that's special about you out there and not have to worry. It takes some courage to show up in areas where you perhaps thought that you weren't really going to show up. As long as you don't overcomplicate it, you will create anything that you want. So it can feel pretty bad like when people reject you. So whether you're just not getting enough traffic, you're not getting enough leads, you're not getting enough sales, people are saying no, people are saying they're not ready, whatever it is. People are giving you nonsense excuses, like whether you're helping them with money and they're going, I can't afford your thing because I don't have money. I'm like, this thing helps you with money. Duh. Or like whether it's the health stuff and they go like, I'm not ready to quit smoking, I'll do it another time. And you're like, no, you won't. If you don't do it now, you're less likely to do it next week and even less likely to do it the next week. There are no triggers that make people do those things that enable growth in their life. That's why the perspective stuff, telling people the truth, is really important. But you've got to do it in a way, and I'll talk about like the sales stuff and how to do that. But it's like that sometimes like, you come home and it's like it's your dog that greets you to make you feel like normal again. But there are some things you can do out in the world that really like clears up that rejection. For starters, you shouldn't worry about rejection. So like what if we make a list of those things, or you make a list of those things that you really need to do to enable growth, and then people will come out of the woodwork. Even if you're going, I'm just asking for a friend, like what are these things that enable growth? So whatever it is that you want in your life, whatever it is that you want to get, getting good at sales is one of those areas. Like even if you automate it, 2 sales from 50 leads is a 4% phone conversion. You should be getting something like 90%, but let's say to be extremely moderate, just 4%. So you could feel that perhaps like, well, I don't know how to do that. Well, there's a thing called slowing down for yellow lights. Let's say like this guy's giving you an objection. The most common thing that people tend to do is that they try to basically rush. Somebody says no, and they go like, oh, well, let me tell you more. It's a mistake. You've got to slow down for yellow lights. So like when you see like a yellow light in the road, a lot of people, they put their foot down, they're like, I can get through. And people feel that if they just kind of like create enough energy and enough momentum, which exhausts the seller, by the way, and exhausts the buyer. That's why there's all these defenses up, because force gets used against force. You slow down for yellow lights, and you realize that anything that people tell you, you've got to observe, not absorb. People aren't always clear in their communication, which means that what people are saying sometimes isn't actually what they're saying. You've got to slow down for yellow lights. Instead of like telling people why your program's so good, get used to like when someone gives you an objection, instead of talking them out of it, get used to this thing where you ask them, tell me more about that. That's it. You'll be blown away by how people will join what you have if they feel that it's their idea. Because like, let's say they've got an objection that they haven't really brought up, and it's now more of kind of like a feeling in their body, and they've forgotten what the words are. They just know they don't want to do it. They're like, oh, I don't want to do your thing. It's the wrong time. Partner doesn't want me to do it. It's too expensive. They're the things they'll say outwardly because that's the easiest objections to give you. But if you get into the habit of slowing down for yellow lights and observe, don't absorb, and notice that with rejection, it's not you getting rejected. It's just that you haven't slowed down enough for people. You should be getting a 90% conversion. Because people have inside of them, it's like when you make them feel safe to tell you the real reason, you don't have to solve it, they'll solve it for you. They will find a way to buy from you if they feel safe. If they don't feel safe, if they think that you're pushing, they will find a way not to. The only way to make a sale is to trust the other person to buy it and for you to slow down and really hear what it is that they're telling you. Does that make sense? It's like a date. Pushiness, it's only like not only is it like not attractive, but it's actually kind of really off-putting for people. The same comes with sales. So people want to live their best life. They want to do all sorts of things. They just want to know, like, am I going to be safe if I do this strange thing? But they still want to do it. So like, they don't want to feel that you're being the predator. So I just love these memes. So friend, does your cat bite you? Worse, he judges you. People don't want to be judged. People don't want to be told they're doing the wrong thing when they don't buy from you. Now, I know that a person who doesn't buy from you is often doing the wrong thing by not buying from you. Legally, they're allowed to say no, obviously. But when I say wrong thing, I don't mean legally wrong thing. Your client's sometimes doing the wrong thing by not buying from you because they're just procrastinating, because they're scared. So think about this. If your client's scared, or if your prospect is scared, and you kind of scare them more, they're going to get more scared. So that's why you've got to slow down for yellow lights. So they want to buy things. You've got to come from their point of view. They might be tired. They might have spent the whole night in a lavender field. We just don't know. But in the end, just be you and the world will adjust. You need to make sure that you're trusting, that you're putting your best self out there. And when somebody argues with what you've said, don't defend what you've said. They're acting from an emotional response. They're scared. Don't scare them more. Make them feel more comfortable and they will find a way to buy from you. I hope that makes sense. So people are so judgmental, I can tell just by looking at them. Well, people don't like to be judged. It's the ugliest friend trait. That we want to be accepted, especially like if any part of you is a people pleaser, any part of your client's a people pleaser. If you show them that you're just disapproving of their decision, it annoys them. Doesn't mean they're going to buy from you to please you, but because they're a people pleaser, it annoys them that they can't please you. So it creates this dissonance. They're afraid to buy, and then they don't like your disapproval of them not buying. If you would approve of their not buying and saying, I'm so proud that you didn't buy my stuff, great, they'd love it. Or if they felt safe to buy from you, they'd love it. The pain comes when they feel judged. So whatever they say, nothing is permanent. Nothing is written in stone. Remember, observe, don't absorb. So sales is quite easy as long as you explain what you do. But first, you've always got to ask them what they want. Does that make sense? So don't look for 50 leads. Write great headlines. You don't want to waste too much time on the phone or Facebook or Instagram doing this. You want to make sure, and looking up weird conspiracy theories or like why, perhaps like what level of Jumanji we're on in the world at the moment. Or perhaps like why, 2020 feels like it's kind of like letting down all the work from all these other years. What are you putting out there? Does it look good? Or does it look like this? We've seen a lot of clients kind of put a thing like this out, and the other person doesn't like it because it doesn't look too great. It looks very negative. So that while they're kind of like busy social distancing, they're still wanting to buy things, but they want your thing to look good. Perhaps they need help with weight, they need help perhaps like with eating because they're addicted, and they're well aware that their system's not working. They're spinning their, or like say that they can't spin the wheels. They're going through a lot of pain because they're not getting what they want. And if you can offer something that's better than what they were getting before, they'll really like it. So forgetting like this term new normal, it's a weird time, but it's a really great time to self-reflect. So instead of just looking at memes, find out like what is it that people want. It might be strange. They might be like perfectly happy, hunkering down and kind of just like giving themselves some space. But it's actually the time where they're looking the most for the things that they like so they can actually create their safe spaces. What can you give them that helps them with that? Besides cat pictures. So like, I'm on my way, what should I bring? A good mood, I'm not coming. People are humans and they don't like too much corporate speak. People like to have a good time. They like to have jokes. They just don't like poor quality. They like all sorts of things. It's like me after, if I had a badge for every drunk adventure that I've survived. People like to have a sense of humor. People like to feel that human element. They like to get to know you and your authenticity. They need to kind of really see your best, but to do that, it's not just you running at the world that's going to do it. It's really looking at those areas where you enable the growth, not just cause the growth. So to do that, it really does take a leap of faith to get started. So instead of like just jumping out and saying, well, I'm going to do some ads, I'm going to do some whatever, I'm going to do it all on my own or something. Let's just first ask you a question. Who are you? And what do you want? What do you want to change in this time? And what is it that you know about yourself that it's time to kind of pay attention to? Is it your personal life? Is it your mood? Is it your habits? Is it the moods that you've been bringing to work? Is it something that you've basically procrastinated on? Is there some sales skills that are sort of, that they would really help you, but there's this belief in the background that sales are bad? Instead of it's something nice and easy that sales is about, don't scare the other person basically, and ask for the sale. Ask them what they want, show them how what you have matches that, and they will say yes if they're not scared. So the number one thing to do there is not scare them and then ask for the sale. But finding out who you are, like this is my dog, finding out who he is at the moment. It's an area that really needs to be looked at. So let's get into some of the technical steps. So things that we call get attention, offer a freebie, and then produce an online course. So the get attention stuff. This is some stuff that I've done recently. So there's Phil Wynn, who interviewed me. From that, on that day, somebody saw the video and they booked in to do a Skype session with me for clinical hypnotherapy for $400, if that makes sense. So there's plenty of business out there. So on the first day, I got one. This is stuff that I've taken, like pictures I've taken from what's shown up on my phone. Some stats where there's some videos that I've done. It shows you what I've spent. So like $50 on one, had a reach of 11,000. Through plays, 811 for $50. Another one, $25, and I got 307 playthroughs and 2.9 thousand reach. It's not that expensive to do a video. Use that ATSTO formula. So attention, topic, I help who do what by what without, story, teach, offer. And then the quit smoking today in Croydon. Here's another ad that I've done. New page likes, 26,000 post reach, post engagements, 1,224. So up 268%. And this is not a lot of money that it takes. Here's my original smoking ad on Facebook. And I've had 120 shares. So just by putting it out there, people share it and they book in. There is plenty of people that need things out there. If you can do those things that enable growth and then things that create growth, you can really create what you want in your life, but not by kind of like running at it a bit and then going, giving up, running at it, but more kind of like bring that mindset to it that this is something that you have to do. So what's kind of really weird is like when I first did the coaching, I didn't believe that I was going to be any good at it. So I didn't bring those other professional elements. I didn't kind of like wear the clothes the same quality of clothes that I would wear to a hypnotherapy appointment, to a business coaching appointment. And that was something because of a belief within myself. I just thought, well, I'll treat this casually because I was kind of afraid of it. And after a while, I found that like sending out the text message, giving the questionnaire, doing everything, having a system really made the other person feel more comfortable. Another ebook I put out recently. So 65 comments, people typing I'm in, me replying to them with the link. The 8 steps of letting go of the past, type them in to get the ebook. These things are so easy to do. 208 comments. How to create your online course and sell 10 in 4 hours. People want things like this. The same one again, but in a different group. The full 6-figure hypnotherapy practice intensive, type I'm in to watch the training. 63 comments. People saying I'm in. This is the new one that I've only just done. So if you're watching this and you came from this link, I took a picture of this as soon as I made it. Kerwin Ray is a brilliant one to watch because if you're going to do some research what he puts out. He is brilliant at social media. Here's a video that I did. Man quit smoking after crying over a photo of grandchildren. This one had something about like 17,000 views, and it only cost like about $50 to $100. And then people can like click on the link. When they see the ebook thing, they can click on the link, and then it asks them to put in their details. There's an autofill button that comes up for people now. So when they hit autofill, it puts in their details. You can get 50 leads quite easily, but you really, to do this, people worry far too much about like, well, what am I going to give them? You do need to give them a freebie. Let me show you some examples of a freebie that I've done. So first I do a video and I do my ATSTO. So I do attention, topic, story, teach, offer. I write it down and then I kind of forget it and do whatever I want them to do anyway. But first, by writing it down, at least I've got a plan. Then I give the ebook, or I create this in Canva, and then I go to a site called Adazing to make it 3D. Here's another example, how to make Facebook videos that attract hypnotherapy clients, how to get your 6-figure marketing funnel finished. 5 pages is enough. So if you're worried about like how long it's going to take you, do 5 pages, reply with the link to the opt-in. Here's another reply to the link to the opt-in, and then they get the book. So here's, again, like if you just want to start with just like an ad that put $25, put $50 on it, have a go at this. This is like a bottleneck that people have. You need to be able to have a go at it. And online courses is one of those things that really helps to save you time. So I've found that like I can do a lot more content when I have this online course. Here's some examples of what it looks like. This is just using Kajabi. I coach in groups. So I do for people, I say like, use the tag W followed by your biggest win for the week. Use the tag S followed by your biggest stretch for the week or things you need to improve. And use L followed by your biggest learning for the week. It's just a little bit of organization, those professional things that you do around your course or your coaching to offer structure. People are hungry for your structure. Then train with videos. So here's one, how to attract up to 40 hypnotherapy clients per week. Here's how Greg made $80,000 from one web page. And a short-term promotion that we were doing, so 90% off this course, which is, it used to be $5,000. We sold quite a lot of them, but for a short time, like during June or to the end of June, 2020, basically offering it for $357. Then there's like another like page, like when people like download or they put in their contact details for your ebook, then it says your ebook is on its way. Here's another one, like 10 myths that cost your hypnotherapy practice thousands of dollars. So if you're willing to do a video, you can create online courses. You just need kind of a structure to do it. So basically, here we go. Okay, so procrastination is a lifelong habit. So what I'm talking about, like these things that are creating growth, the things that create growth in your life, or the things that create growth in your business, are basically things like the traffic, building content, and making sales. The things that enable the growth, so like that was the create, the things that enable the growth is to create the structures around them, create the prestige around them that people are looking for so that they believe you. Create the authenticity so that people believe you. Slow down for yellow lights. Create content that brings people to you, if that makes sense. Break the addiction to procrastination. Commit to yourself today. So what are you going to do? Your next words will program your subconscious mind for success or failure. You're in charge of what happens next. So here's what I want you to do. Obviously, buying my course is a good idea. You don't have to, and if you don't, then we're still friends. That's perfectly fine. But clear your desk, do the steps, and find a way to really fall in love with the process. So if you would like a step-by-step, so thank you so much for watching. If you would like a step-by-step of what to do, finish your marketing in one day. I've got a free video that it's very, in a way, it just has the steps. Just steps. If you do these things, you'll be able to build traffic for yourself. You'll be able to build videos. You'll be able to basically build sales. It's step by step. Click the button and continue your training. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.